I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Boulder Valley Board of Education for Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. Laura, would you please call the roll?
Benford.
Here.
Fuqua.
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Gebhardt.
Here.
Marquis.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Sargent. Okay, and Kitty Sargent is calling in. I have not heard from her yet.
This is why we do roll call.
She needs to call us.
She needs to call us.
Lincoln over there, I don't know if she's on hold or, she said she called before, got voicemail.
Let's see. Are you there, Kitty?
I am here.
Okay, I just called roll. Have it noted that Kitty Sargent is on the line.
Okay, will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to remind everybody that the mission of the Boulder Valley School District is to create challenging, meaningful, and engaging learning opportunities so that all children thrive and are prepared for successful, civically engaged lives. Good evening, everybody. We are at a special offsite location in the town of Superior, and I just want to extend a huge thank you for the town of Superior for giving us this space more or less for free. And we're just so delighted that we can be here while our own boardroom is undergoing construction. So a big thank you to Superior. So as always, we'll start with the superintendent's report.
Board President Marquis, members of the board, again, I'd like to also thank the town of Superior for being gracious enough and being great partners to allow us to use this space over the next couple of months. Speaking of the Ed Center, our team has been hard at work over the past couple of weeks as we've kind of begin to move to temporary offices. I think Rob Price and his team have done an awesome job. I think everybody within the Ed Center, I want to thank them for their patience and flexibility as we start to move things around. I would say that the approach that we took was to really try to do the best we could to make the best of the situation as opposed to going out and renting office space. I think we saved a lot of money, saved the taxpayers a lot of money by being flexible and accountable and working through that. So thanks to Rob Price and his team. If you drive by, you'll see a lot of work happening. For those of you that are coming to the Ed Center, we just ask that you be patient with parking. Parking's at a premium right now, and so we're working hard to move forward with getting some more parking done. That won't happen until the fall. It's summer. And so, which is a great time for our students and our communities, but also time for something to happen called the Summer Slide. And board members, we haven't really talked about this. Maybe you've heard of this. This is the idea that we have some kids over the summer, based on what they do, they actually can advance ahead in their academic achievement and growth. And then we have other students that actually slide backwards. And so I would just encourage our parents, our kids, to make sure that you're reading. Head to your local library, head outside, be inquisitive. We have Boulder Valley Lifelong Learning has a vast array of classes and activities along with many of other community partners. And so I just encourage our kids and our families to, even though that you're not in school, do some learning this summer, experience some things. If you're on a vacation, take a stop at a museum. Just remember that those experiences over the summer add up one way or the other. And so for those that are in the viewing public, just ask our students to read and let's be sensitive to Summer Slide so when we come back in August, we're where we want to be. And that's all I have for my comments today.
Okay, does texting count as reading? I'm just asking.
Not really.
Yeah.
Or writing.
Or writing, right. My daughter's reading and writing a lot. Any questions or comments?
Are we doing our summer enrichment programs? And what schools do we have those going at?
Yes, we have summer enrichment programs. I can give you a full report on summer school in my update to you this week. We have 4,000 students this year, which is more than last year, I believe, engaged in summer activities across the district. Getting those programs. And so thank you, Sam, for reminding me of that.
Other questions or comments?
Is any of those summer programs designed to help with the summer slide?
I would say they all have, all can play a role. I would say that a lot of our programs are STEM-based, but can get you more details about that, the specifics around that. If you go to our website for parents, bvsd.com or .org, you can find lots of information there. And then again, lots of activities through lifelong learning to really create, just create opportunities for kids across the district.
Okay. So we, just to confirm, we have no public participation?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're going to move on to board communication. And I thought I would start this evening. I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. One is that I asked for one RFI that I ask for every year, which is a list of the wait lists at each of our schools. And I just do this because parents are sometimes interested in how hard it would be to get into a school the following year. So that's on our library on board docs. The other RFI I asked for was one specifically as a follow-up to Glenn Sugrew's enrollment report about 5 months ago or 4 months ago. And it just talked about the yield of BVSD students per type of housing development that was embarked upon. And that's because of a development actually in my neighborhood. And I'm just curious how the development in the city of Boulder will or won't contribute to the growth of the BVSD student population. So that's also public and online on board docs. The other thing I just wanted to touch on was that tonight we'll be voting on, in consent, the addendum to the superintendent's contract and to on his letter of evaluation. I just want to reiterate how lucky I feel that we are that we found Dr. Anderson and that he was able to join us here in Boulder Valley and bring his leadership and energy and persistence to our school district. I'm thankful that you're here, that you made the very significant move from Orlando. No, Georgia.
Atlanta.
I get them confused.
Either is significant, either way you look at it.
And I also just was reflecting a little bit today on the work we did this year. We had a new superintendent. We reviewed a strategic plan. We dealt with a lot of big issues. And I felt like as a district and as a board, I thought we did great. Obviously, a lot of learning to do in any case, but I feel really optimistic about the coming year. And we'll be able to have a restful summer break. So those are my comments for this evening. Who else has public comments?
I just want to follow up again on the summer slide. The community schools has all of the summer school programming, correct? I have a concern that many of the low-income students are really not getting their needs met through community schools. If we're concerned about the summer slide, it's those low-income students that are really going to slide. So I hope that at some point that we can start talking about either beefing up that community school programming for our low-income students or bringing that whole program back to the district and have the district administer and that program.
So do you want to add that as an RFI, or do you already have an RFI?
I don't know.
Other board members? Is that it for this evening?
Well,
Okay.
I have I had a question today about the 4.7% for your raise that appeared in the paper, and I just want to assure people who might be listening or questioning that was the COLA raise that we gave to all of our staff, and then the other 2%, I think I learned from Tina, is what we've given to our administrative staff. So that was, I just wanted to put that in the public record in case there were questions about what the raise was for and how we based it, that it was consistent with what we're doing with our administrators and with our staff. And thank you for a good year.
Okay, anyone else? Great, let's move on to our first information item, 6.1 or 6.1 CBOC update to the board.
Thank you, Board President Marquis and Superintendent Anderson, members of the board. My name is Scott Stevens. I'm the Executive Director of the Bond Program, overseeing construction. I'm going to do a presentation for where we are in the Bond Program currently, and then we have a couple of guest speakers as well to discuss a couple of things, as well as our CBOC members to give you their update. So far, as of May 16th, we're approximately 66% complete. 23,000 students has benefited from these investments and learning environments. Total expenditures are just over $443 million. Currently, we have 12 projects, as well as the Culinary Center, or previously called the Central Kitchen, and Education Center are under construction this summer. Teams started construction earlier this year, which gave us more assurance to have a smoother reentry into the start of the school year. All projects, with the exception of the Central Kitchen and Education Center, will be substantially complete in August. 12 projects are in design, and they will move into construction next year. We've started design advisory teamwork earlier this year to position us to bid projects in the fall, with the intent to get ahead of the construction market moving into the spring and work plan for next summer. One of the consistent challenges we face is balancing the need to accomplish a large amount of work in schools while minimizing disruption to learning. Laying the groundwork for a strong start to the summer began early this year for several projects, such as Coal Creek, Superior, and Heatherwood. Crews mobilized to these sites early in March and April, started work outside of the school or after hours. We also took advantage of time over spring break and some long weekends. We did some small discrete tasks during the year, which allows us to maximize work that we can get done in the summer. We are fortunate to have a strong school support team in Dave Egan and Terry Galach to act as liaison between the school community and the construction team. As former educators, they are skilled at working with teachers and principals to help them through the challenges, logistics of construction. As needed, bond staff met directly with school staffs and communities to share information and address questions as they come up. As many of you know, Susan Cousins serves as our communications liaison from the bond department and is responsible for forwarding communication out to all the affected communities. In these three photos up here that you can kind of see on the top left there, staff and moving crews jumped in early to pack furniture and materials, get the spaces clear for construction. It's actually quite an impressive amount of work that they do within about a week period of time. And you walk in there on Monday and you look at it and you say, how's this going to get done? And you walk in there Friday and it's all gone. Every effort is made to reuse or recycle items discarded from the schools. The bottom photo is a photo of Superior Elementary. This is one of the projects that we started a little bit early, classroom edition that began in the end of January. And then also, top right photo is at Angevine Middle School. Sometimes we're able to shut this room down a little bit early so we could demo out the floor. This is a bathroom that's getting some new plumbing work done into it. So one advantage of starting work in schools during the school year is it provides an opportunity to create educational experiences related to construction. The project team at Superior Elementary have created a variety of activities to engage with students, including a safety poster contest, weekly updates on the video announcements, a construction professionals presentation, and listening to kids present their classroom design PBL projects as seen here. PBL is project-based learning, as you know. In this photo is one of our senior project managers, Tom Blahak, whose kids are presenting their projects with them. And then you kind of see there's a gentleman standing over here. We had actually a group of construction workers come in and do a little sit with a group of fifth graders and talk about the construction industry, what they do, kind of education you need to do that, those sorts of things. It's a great opportunity. So construction has been going strong at Fairview High School for 12 months, and there's still a lot of ground to cover this summer. Over the past school year, the renovated auditorium, multipurpose fitness room, and college and career center came online. Highlights of the summer work will include a large-scale remodel of the art rooms, a new press box, new carpet in many areas, and renovations of several restrooms. The project is on track to be substantially complete in August. In April, we had school teams from the third innovation cohort sharing digital stories documenting the implementation of their innovation project plans at the Innovation Showcase. This is a culminating activity for each cohort of educators and occurs at the end of the first year of the renovated spaces. Teams used a variety of digital mediums to share with their peers their process for identifying desired student outcomes, engaging in professional development, developing project plans, and their experiences using new spaces. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Susan Nicholson Dykstra. Susan is a science teacher at Broomfield High School and the sponsor of the school's Maker Club. Susan is here to share her experience with the use of the new Maker space in the renovated library this year. Susan.
Thank you so much. I have the honor of joining you this evening, not only as a teacher and the sponsor of our Maker Club, but also as a member of our innovation team. And so I'm here to share both our renovation celebrations and our gratitude for the funding that made our innovation visions a reality. Our library has always been at the heart of our community, and we're thrilled with the transformatory ways in which our students and staff now utilize our new spaces. For example, the Maker Space has been utilized by our English and history teachers for large project-based learning experiences and other life-size, I'm sorry. I'm so excited to share our news. I'm tongue twisted. So our Makerspace has been utilized by our English and history teachers for large project-based learning experiences and for other creative projects such as life-size character models. It's also the home base for our new Maker Club, and it's the starting point for all of our adventures in tinkering, experimenting, and creating. The Nest is a smaller, more private space in our library, and that's popular for podcasting. The Collaborate space has been used for hosting author events, art exhibits, AP testing, and special events such as the recent Anne Frank exhibit that was on loan from the Netherlands. And our H3 space is the headquarters for our very active book club. In addition to hosting classes, clubs, and special events, our library welcomes hundreds of students every day who come to study, research, read, create, collaborate, and even just relax in our spaces on their own time during off hours and after school. And as faculty sponsor for our new Maker Club, I can attest to the power of providing a space, not just the maker space, but our entire library that is inclusive, welcoming, and safe for inspiring creative problem solving and innovation. Several months ago, we asked our students to share how our new library makes them feel. We used their answers to create a word cloud to highlight their most frequent answers, which you can see for yourself on our shirt. So in our students' words, our library makes them feel productive, comfortable, calm, focused, intelligent, creative, safe, accepted. Our library has always been a hub of activity in our school, but our new space now matches our vision for a vibrant library that better meets the needs of our entire community, both academic and social emotional, and promotes innovative teaching and learning. Our amazing librarian, Jane Chisel, is currently out of town and regrets that she was not able to join us this evening, but she would be thrilled to host a tour to share for you all the highlights of our amazing changes. In April, as Scott mentioned, we had the opportunity to share the digital story of our innovation journey with the BVSD community. And we invite you to peruse the digital product for to more fully experience our library's transformations and to better visualize our renovation celebrations. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share our story, and thank you so much for making these innovation visions a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mike McLaughlin and John Stanton, both the chair and co-chair of the C-Block Committee.
Thanks, Scott. Good evening, board members. I'm Mike McLaughlin, and this is John Stanton. We're going to give you a couple of brief remarks about the progress of the Oversight Committee. So the first thing I want to mention is that we did, at this last meeting, elect chair people again. So John will be taking over as chairperson. That's great. I'm going to serve as John's vice chair, so we'll have some continuity there. We also have 18 Oversight Committee members going into right now. Normally we'd have about 20, but since we're cruising into the end of the bond program, bringing in new people can be a little challenging. So we have all of the constituencies represented, and we'll continue to keep our eyes on that as we move forward with the staff's recommendation that was, and the committee accepted it, that we'll stay static where we are. We had meetings in March and May. There were no significant funding items that came up in this last meeting. We did get an update around enrollment trends in the district and as well as an update on the University Hill project. Justice High was a topic of conversation, as well as the data collection process that we're using around temperatures inside the classroom. So that'll be going on over the summer. Rob's, I think, briefed you all on it before, and so we'll, CBOC is keeping our eye on it, understanding that that may be something that we have additional funding to do towards the end of the year to work on classroom and school air conditioning where possible. And we also received an update on the innovation process. So we have been a lot of work going on, and as you can see, outstanding contracted commitments of $76 million. There's a lot of work going on this summer, and as a point, John and the committee and we agreed that we would get an update from staff about midterm, even though we're not scheduled to meet till August. So staff will be sending out an update for us, and we'll make sure that we're tracking on, there's no surprises happening, and that we're moving as predicted. We expect in 2019 that we're going to consume over $125 million, so that's great, good progress. We're well on the way, and really entering the home stretch as we look at the bond program, and this particular bond program. 18 projects are over 90% complete, and we're forecasting $2.4 million in savings. Big testament to Scott and Rob and that team. We keep a real close eye on it. Those savings, of course, when they come back to us, when they come back into that, those reserve funds, is that we'll find homes for them hopefully before the bond program ends, based on the direction that you all have set out and the master plan suggests. There's 15 projects that are 100% complete. We continue to run around that 1%, 0.7% savings in terms of projections. So that's good progress, and we like that. And then, John, did you want to share some feedback around the meeting spaces and where we're choosing to do meetings?
Yeah, one of the things that we decided to do is that since we are really getting into the home stretch of the meetings, and I would actually say the first two phases of the bond decisions were relatively easy, because it was like, oh, there's a third tranche coming, there's a new stuff, we have all this extra money. And now we're actually getting into some really meaty, sometimes heated discussions about what are we going to spend the money on. And one of the reasons we decided to keep the committee at 18 and not try to bring new people in, there's a lot of people that have been doing this for a while now, and they have some history, and they actually understand that these issues. And there's going to be, as we get near the end of the project and we start asking the question, who gets air conditioning? Who gets the extra 100, who gets the extra $10 million? Who's going to get another parking lot? All these things that come to our committee, we wanted people to already have that history. So we're going to try to keep that group together as much as we can. The other thing that we've decided to do is we're going to have our meetings as much as possible out where the dollars have been spent. So we went to Fairview, and we went to, what did I miss? I was thinking about
Transportation.
transportation, now think about it. Two totally different spaces. So we got to see where all the buses go get, at night and get them repaired. It was an amazing space. And I thought it was very good, and Mike agreed that we want to go out to these spaces, because it's really sometimes hard to be in a room like this, see all the numbers on a piece of paper and go, what did you pay for? And so getting out into that space and say, what did we actually pay for? And the more interesting thing I found, especially with like Fairview, was the enthusiasm of the staff, seeing what they've changed. We've also asked Rob if we can have before pictures on some of these places, but a lot of us have seen them before. But I would recommend every board member get out, come to one of our meetings, do these tours, because it is amazing what some of this, like the innovation money we heard about, just a huge transformation of some of these older buildings and these older spaces, and now all of a sudden they're full of students. And that's really what we, starting to really weigh what is the best use of the money. And as we get into the last portion of this, that's going to be very important. So once again, I encourage all of you to come out to our August meeting. We don't know where it is yet, but it's going to be on site somewhere yet.
Thanks. And just as a note, so staff brings back recommendations if there is additional funding to use, right? That's based on the direction that you all provide against the clear master plan guidance as well. That's what we have for you tonight. Are there any questions that we can answer for you?
Board members? Kathy?
Well, John, you kind of we're a step ahead of me. I was going to ask Rob, I think it was 2 years ago that the board and CBOC members did a tour of some of the bond projects. And I was thinking it might be helpful to see if we could set another one of those up. I thought it was great to have the board with the CBOC members, and we had a school bus, and we didn't get a great turnout, but we had a lot of CBOC members, and I just was thinking it would be great, since we're getting towards the end of the projects, if maybe we could look at setting something like that up. So, and I just want to say thank you to CBOC, because you guys I'm always impressed with the level of detail and understanding and passion and commitment that you bring to this in your spare time. So deepest gratitude and thanks for all of your hard work. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, other board members?
Yeah, I just want to echo Kathy's thanks. And Rob, could we get that summer report that they referenced? Could we get sent that? Yeah. And I think it was like 7.5 years ago we started talking about this. So it's neat. Not everything can we see progress on in the time we've been on the board. It's sort of intangible, but this is something real that we get to see, and we thank you for your efforts. And I do encourage board members to get out and see all the improvements. It almost always makes me feel good and makes me feel grateful to the taxpayers of the Boulder Valley School District.
Anyone else? All right, well, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Okay, we next have an information item, 6.2, regulation LBDR, relations with district charter schools, procedures for establishment review, renewal, revocation, and closure. Kathleen or Rob?
I'll kick us off. This is a recommendation board for a shift in regulation Kathleen will talk about. We've made 2 shifts. As you all know, we met with NACSA a few weeks back around taking a look at our charter authorization process and, looking at our process and making sure it aligns with national and local and state best practices. And as we think about next year, there were 2 things that we wanted to adjust now before we would potentially get any applications to give us the time and space to be able to take their recommendations and make adjustments as necessary. So I'll turn it over to Kathleen.
Sure. So in accordance with your board policy on policy process, we're to bring to you revisions to regulations at least 30 days before they go into effect. The purpose of making just a couple of changes right now is to make sure that in the event the district receives charter applications this fall, that we're able to address some of the recommendations that the District Accountability Committee already brought to the board. The first was really because our DAC does not meet in August, that having an application deadline of August 1 meant that 30 days had already elapsed before the DAC had even come together in September. By state law, the board is able to select an application deadline between August 1 and October 1. On Friday, I was with many of the school lawyers and representatives from the Attorney General's office and was able to have a good conversation with some of our neighboring districts about how they approach that to make sure that there really is the time for your staff and District Accountability Committee to look at the application before it comes before the board. So the recommendation that we have today is that the board sets the deadline of October 1 as the day on which those applications would be accepted. And that would be the time at which the 90-day clock runs for the board to take action on the application. So we've revised that in 2 places in the regulation, just to be consistent, both places where it's referenced. And then the other revision that's proposed is one to really help make sure that we're doing a good job keeping track of the paper that is part of an application like this, and would require the applicant to submit the number of copies necessary for the board and the DAC to have the copies they need to review.
Okay, board members, any questions? Since this is a regulation, we don't need to take action. It's just, we ask them to inform us. Are there any concerns?
I have a comment.
Yes?
Couple of times in this regulation, it talks about October 1st between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. or by 4 p.m. the first business day following October 1st. And I assume that means in the instance that October 1st is not a business day. And if that's the case, I would like it to say so for clarity.
That makes good sense to me, and we can easily do it.
Okay. Anything else, Kitty?
No, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, Donna?
Just a quick question, Kathleen. Does hold on just a minute, let me find where it was. The electronic copies, can they be electronic or are they supposed to be hard copy?
So this regulation, and let me make sure that the words say what I think they say. I think we ask for 12 printed, bound copies.
Okay.
And an electronic. And this is exactly what our friends in Adams 12 do. This is language that directly replicates what they have in their board policy and has worked, regulation, excuse me, and has worked well for them.
Okay, I see it, yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments, board members?
I just have a quick question.
Okay.
So the 90 days would expire New Year's?
Yeah, this would put those 90 days right at the end of December. And I think that as we look at this process this year, that's something that we can pick any date. So candidly, I think that maybe September 15th to address your concern. The idea is that we really want to make sure there's time if there's any sort of disagreement or appeal to the state board, that is teed up and ready to go to the state board by your last vote of December. That's really what we need to make the rest of those timelines work.
We don't usually have meetings over Christmas break, and this would fall during, we could meet, obviously, if we needed to.
And you have the full 90 days if you need them. There's nothing in statute that would prevent you from making that vote at your last meeting in December.
Have you run this by DAC? Does this give them just sufficient time with their calendar?
I have not spoken directly with DAC. When we were together in the work session, DAC asked us for the latest possible date that we could have.
And that's October 1st.
Which is why I picked October 1st. Although I do think, to your point about that, we do want to be conscientious that you're going to want to have voted on any applications before that break.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So thank you. And then we're going to move on to 7, our action items. 7.1, personnel items. 7.2, approval of minutes, May 28th, 2019 special meeting. 7.3, approval of minutes, May 28th, 2019 regular meeting. 7.4, 2019-20 cash management. 7.5, adoption of the 2019-20 budget. 7.6, approval of the purchase of 7 new Type C passenger school buses. 7.7, change order to the construction manager general contractor contract for bond-funded improvement work at Lafayette Elementary School. 7.8, change order to the construction manager general contractor contract for bond-funded improvement work at Louisville Elementary School. 7.9, change order to the construction manager general contractor contract for bond-funded improvement work at Mesa Elementary School. 7.10, change order to the construction manager general contractor contract for bond-funded improvement work at Netherland Elementary. 7.11, change order to the construction manager general contractor contract for bond-funded improvement work at Netherland Middle Senior High School. 7.12, change order to the construction manager general contractor contract for bond-funded improvement work at Superior Elementary. 7.13, closeout to the construction manager general contractor contract for bond-funded work at Eisenhower Elementary School. 7.14, contract for mechanical and site improvements at BCSIS High Peaks Elementary School. 7.15, classroom device management. 7.16, IT service management, ServiceNow. 7.17, Kaiser Permanente employee benefit contract renewal. 7.18, Microsoft software licenses renewal 2019 to 20. 7.19, ratification of meet and confer process between the Boulder Valley School District and the Boulder Valley District Leadership Team, professional, technical, and non-represented employees. 7.20, superintendent's evaluation. 7.21, superintendent's contract addendum. 7.22, grant, BVSD federal programs, consolidated federal programs, Title 1NA, 2A, 3A, and 4, Colorado Department of Education, 19. So, board members, are there any items you would like to pull? Okay, hearing none, can we have a motion to approve the items? Motion by Shelley and a second by Sam. Any discussion or questions before we vote? Sam?
That's a quick question about the Kaiser one, 7.17, and maybe this is for Mike, or, it says participation is about a third. That seems like has that been dropping over the years? And if so, can we say why?
Actually, it has not. It's actually pretty consistent. It may be off a few numbers, but it's pretty consistent. There are those who leave the district. Obviously, they're not with Kaiser, but those who come into the district go to Kaiser. And a lot of it has to do with location, where the services are.
And the rest of the district is in the self-funded plan?
Yes, UMR.
Two options.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Any other questions or clarifications on any of the items? All right, hearing none. Laura, would you please call the roll?
Benford.
Yes.
Fuqua.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gebhardt.
Yes.
Marquis.
Yes?
Myers.
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and our next item is number 9, policy action. 9.1, approval board policy IGAE, health education. So this is a policy we've discussed numerous times. First of all, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Richard, a second? By Sam? Okay, discussion?
I just have one question. Page 3, number 3, under requirements. I just want to know how that highlights or with me a little bit of contradiction, but maybe it's not after you explain it. So that number 3, and then flip to the next page, number 4, additional requirements, and that number 3. So one says community-based speakers may be used to enhance the health education curriculum. And then the other one, the 3 on page 4, says only district-approved staff who have completed required training. Is that implied in both?
I think that specific requirement, and that's been in board policy for the prior board policy on sexuality education. That's an additional requirement that the board has in place to assure that the section of the health education, which is human sexuality education, can only be taught by staff members in the district who've received the specific training around that curriculum. The guest speakers provision applies to that comprehensive health education component. The question though that I think you're asking is, could there be guest speakers in the human sexuality part of instruction?
Yeah, that would be the question, because one says the guest speakers don't have to have any of the training, and another says that our district has to have all the training.
And I think, and maybe we can find some better language then for the number 3 that you're pointing out, Donna, under additional requirements for human sexuality education, to make sure that the expectation is that the instructional leader in the human sexuality instruction is a district-trained person. I am looking to Kyle Addington, who was generous enough to come tonight. He is your Director of Health and Culture, who gave me the head nod with the answer I desperately needed just then to say yes, in fact, guest speakers can be invited to the human sexuality instruction, but they would still have to be under the direction of that district-trained instructional staff.
I read it that the teacher who leads the class needs to be trained, but there will be guest speakers to talk on topics, but they must be approved.
They must be approved.
That's how I read it.
I just want to clarify.
I have a question.
Yeah, Kitty?
So what do we do to ensure that any community-based guest speakers are teaching best practices?
Thank you for that question. So because of the reorganization of the district and the strategic plan that's coming into place for us for the next year, we wanted to be careful and make sure that we weren't going to create outdated language in the policy already. So we put in place the requirement associated with that speaker, that the speakers have to be approved by district level administration or committee as directed by the superintendent. You have had in place a process of approving community speakers through the Health Education Committee. And now we just made that language a little broader to make sure that whatever group or administrator to whom that responsibility is delegated by the superintendent will continue to oversee and make sure that that speaker is approved and presents appropriate content.
Thanks.
Other questions?
So my question is, do we have to be explicit on that language?
On which language?
On what we were just talking about?
The
That
language?
yes- Yeah, because I don't see it here.
So I actually interpret it as what she said, but board members, are you comfortable? Do you think this language is clear enough, or do you think we need to? And here's my question. I think you need to have this passed for now, correct?
We would like the board to take action on this policy tonight so that it can be in effect for the new school year.
Right, so one option is to pass it, and then you can make a change and we can vote on it again. Is that an option?
Yes. Whatever you'd like to do is an option.
I just want to be sensitive. I don't know if we should kick this through to August 9th.
No.
I don't believe you want that.
I don't. I think that we can change it very quickly, though, if I understand the concern is to make sure that both the speaker is approved and that they're presenting approved content.
So we can either do a live edit right now,
Yes, we can.
or we can vote and then vote again in August. Do you want to do a live edit right now? We can wait 5 minutes.
I think we're ready for the live edit now. Oh, you need me to make it in writing?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, because I can say it very quickly. I don't need 5 minutes.
I think because we have to vote on the exact language.
Okay.
Can I ask you just quickly, I'm good with your live edit, but on page 2, is most of that word for word from law?
The definitions? Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What is new in that language and is new since the last draft that the board reviewed is the definition of culturally sensitive, which is in multiple places in state law. That is straight from state law. There are a few sentences added at the end of that definition that are not straight from the law. Those have been added for clarity.
Thank you.
I guess I have a question. If we pass, if the board's comfortable, you've heard practice, you've heard from Kyle, and if we pass, or if we take action tonight, then we could potentially bring it back sometime next year in our policy review. I'm just trying to think, I want to make life easier, I don't want to make life harder. Live edits are tough, so.
Sure, we definitely can. I clearly understand the board's direction, and we can make sure that staff understand that that approval process is beyond a simple, that person's okay. We want to have an understanding as to the content, and we can bring that back as just a clarity where I can not be live editing on the spot. I didn't
Okay,
quite
and we'll just
realize
vote
what I was
again.
in for. Yes.
Okay.
That'd be great.
That sounds good. You could
Thank
always,
you.
I would say you could almost add a regulation on it, but then we'd have another page of policy. That's probably not a good idea.
Well, and I do want to point out that we do have a regulation that is presented tonight to accompany this policy that is provided to you for information. The reason that you have a regulation when we really didn't anticipate there would be one for this policy is because Kyle Addington had a multi-hour meeting with your health teachers to get feedback on the draft policy, the draft regulation, and the excusal form. And the feedback from those teachers and from Kyle were that we want to be explicit about who does what. The schools provide the notice, the teacher takes in the excusal form, and the principal assures that it's maintained in students' files. So unlike some of your other regulations where there's an awful lot of content in the regulation itself, here it is strictly an implementation step-by-step to comply with the state law's requirements around notification and excusal.
Okay.
And Kathleen, I appreciate your clarification because I don't expect a live edit, but I'm glad this is taped because we can just come back easily because you made it very clear. And I just wanted to make sure that our community understands that there's an oversight to that process. Thank you.
Okay, other questions, board members? Yeah, we're gonna vote as presented and then have it changed in the fall. All right. Did I have a motion on this? Oh, great.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Benford. Fuqua.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gebhardt.
Yes.
Marquis.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, so our next and last agenda item of this school calendar year is agenda setting. Board members, we heard from Richard about some interest around the summer school. Any other items or thoughts for what you want to be doing right when we get back in August? Kathy?
I just want to remind the board that if we're going to have any CASB resolutions, that those are due the end of August. And so we might want to be thinking about what we would want to put on for support for a legislative agenda from the board for CASB. So we might want to add that at some point as an agenda item.
Rob, is that on your master schedule?
It's on the annual plan.
Awesome. Okay. Shelley, Sam, Donna, any? No? We're not meeting next week. This is it. This is it. This is your last word of this school calendar year.
I'll miss you all.
It's on your calendar, Shelley? You can delete it. All right. We're not doing one-on-ones this summer, correct?
I'm around. If a board member would want to meet, I'm happy to do that.
All right. There you go.
But we won't schedule them. We'll just, if you have something to talk about, I'm happy to get there.
Right. So don't expect those scheduling
okay?
requests for one. That's fine with me.
Does that mean you're not going to come to Santa Fe to have lunch?
Katie, I'll be there tomorrow. You just tell me.
Thanks.
All right. Well, with nothing else, I hope everyone has a great summer and this meeting is adjourned.